do that. Boy, you talk about interrupting his pattern. He started to defocus his eyes, started to look inside. What am I doing? I'm getting him to link what? Pain to his present pattern. So his brain will want to change it. I said, listen, if you want love, there are much better ways, and you're a much more intelligent person than this. You don't have to sabotage in this way. You could get it just by, the best way to get love? Give it. See, be loving to people. Give them so much love that they have to give you love back. I said, there's a law in life. It's called reciprocation. What you put out, people feel like they got to give it back. I said, some people stay in relationships with people that they like but don't love, and the reason is they feel stuck because the other person loves them so much that they just, they can't get out. They give love back. I said, listen, if you really want love, start pouring it out so deeply and so powerfully to so many people, it'll come back tenfold. And he looked around and I said, and if you do that, you have no pain and you have lots of pleasure. You do the other one, you keep breaking body parts, people come, they're obligated, they think, God, what a schmuck. How many more times is he going to get in a car accident? What is he, stupid? But they wouldn't say that to your face. I did this over and over again until I conditioned him to link a new pattern. I said to him as well, look, if you are expressing love, while you're expressing it, what are you feeling? He said, love. I said, well, that's interesting. So you mean you could get what you want the minute you give it? His brain went, wow, what a concept. Here's a whole new way. Now, will this help him to change his whole life? Well, he believes it will. We'll know in 6 months if he hasn't had too many more accidents. The bottom line, unless he's just like blind or something, and that's part of the problem, the point is this. Any pattern of self-sabotage comes out of a positive intent. Do you hear me on this? We're always trying to get something that's good for us. Even people that commit suicide do it for a positive intent in their brain's mind. Their brain says, hey, suicide, being dead, would be less painful than being alive, which I have a hard time personally believing. But in the moment, people who believe that commit suicide. Most people never commit suicide because killing themselves is just too painful. So what do? They just beat themselves up a lot. You don't need to do either one. You can free yourself from self-sabotage right now by knowing from this day forward that if you ever start to sabotage yourself, one, don't jump to conclusions and assume that because you've done something a few times and it didn't work out, or the last minute you screwed something up, that it's this specter called self-sabotage that's coming to find you. Try another approach. Maybe it's you're just not paying attention. Maybe you're not focusing. Maybe you've got some poor habits. It may not be a self-sabotage pattern, so don't jump to that conclusion. If it's just bad habits, refocus and decide what you do want to accomplish. And two, if it clearly is a pattern where you are subconsciously sabotaging yourself, screwing things up, hey, get excited. Don't get upset. Say, hey, look, my brain is doing what it does best. It thinks it's keeping me out of pain and giving me some pleasure. But I just got to teach my brain a better pattern. That's all. So what's the intent? And that's how you eliminate self-sabotage. So let's go through the steps real quickly. 1, identify a behavior that's keeping you from getting your goal. Something that's stopping you or holding you back. First, you got to identify it. That's step number 1. 2, once you've identified it, ask yourself, what is the positive intent here? What is my brain trying to give me? So, for example, if you're about to go up to somebody and ask them for a date, and then all of a sudden you shut down and you can't even talk, what's the positive intent? Well, my guess would be that your brain is trying to protect you from being rejected. It's saying, well, if he doesn't say anything, he can't be rejected. Rejection is pain. I don't want pain. Does that make sense? So that's why you can't think in that moment. But you got to teach your brain otherwise. You got to go in, once you find out that what the positive intent is, and you go, well, it's trying to protect me from rejection. Then you go to step 3. Get some leverage on yourself so that you can make the change. You know how to do that. We've done it over and over again. That is, teach your brain that, hey, if I don't change this thing, I know you're trying to help me out here, brain. I know you're trying to keep me from the pain of rejection, but by me not going up and expressing how much I'm attracted, it's costing me relationships that could give me a lot more pleasure. It's a little bitty pain. But not being in a relationship is big pain. I got to explain this to your brain. You got to have a little conversation in your head. The way to do it is on paper. Sit down and write down all the pain you're going to get if you don't change this pattern and all the pleasure you'll get by making the pattern work. Real simple. Step 4, interrupt the pattern. And there are lots of ways to do that. We've talked about many. The simplest one that we've used in the last day or two, of course, is the erasure technique. So how do we use it? Well, see yourself beginning to go into a situation where you're sabotaging yourself. In other words, see yourself start to approach, let's say, an attractive person, and you see yourself start to choke up. Only this time, watch it happen and scramble it. Be outrageous. The key to interrupting a pattern is to do something your brain would never, ever expect and do it rapidly over and over and over and over again. What that does is totally fry the old pattern that used to stop you. And of course, step 5 then is install a new pattern. Condition yourself to have new feelings. What do? You see yourself over and over going up and making the connection with this person and feeling the pleasure that comes from that. So you clearly teach your brain, pain comes from not doing it, pleasure comes from doing it, and that old pattern, I can't run anymore, I've forgotten what the heck it is, I've scrambled my brain. Simple, humorous, basic way to change and eliminate self-sabotage, something you can easily do. I want to make one other point, and that is some of the most successful people have patterns of self-sabotage. So remember, if you find yourself doing something that doesn't seem to be supporting you in the long term, remember at some level your brain thinks it's supporting you, at least in the short term. That's why it's doing it. Don't feel bad about it. Don't go, oh gosh, here I am, this failure. Some of the most successful people that I've interviewed and worked with have had self-sabotage. It's just a pattern we once in a while get, and you can just change it now. It's very easy. I'll give you an example. I worked with Michael O'Brien. He was in the 1500 freestyle in the 1984 Olympics. And here's a young man who spent 14 years of his life to get ready for some key moments. And in working with him, one of the reasons I went to work with him is that he had, for the final 2 or 3 weeks before the Olympics, begun to totally sabotage himself, not give 100% in practice, and just literally stop himself. And nobody could figure out why. Well, the answer I found was the positive intent was this. He was deathly afraid of both failure and success. How's that for a double bind? Sure enough, he felt like, what if I spend 14 years of my life and I fail? I don't make this thing happen. That could cost me unbelievably. But then his brain thought of something that was even more scary. What if I succeed? If I succeed, then I'm going to have to continue to succeed or I will have failed. And so his whole way, his brain began to link that this thing he spent 14 years linking so much pleasure to, that he was willing to spend hours and hours and hours of pain to eventually get this one moment of pleasure called winning an Olympic medal. That all of a sudden his brain said, oh my God, maybe that medal is red squares and yellow squares and green squares. His brain started to freak out and said, well gosh, if I fail I'm in trouble, if I succeed I'm in trouble, so it just shut down. So all I did was come in and do what I just talked to you about doing. What happened? Well, we got him to eliminate his fears, we got him to eliminate the self-sabotage, and we got him to link absolute, even stronger pleasure to succeeding. And he was driven. We helped him use some basic fundamentals of managing his state, and he not only won a medal, he won the gold medal. So once we eliminated the pattern of self-sabotage, again, how do we do it? Simple. 1, got him to decide this had to stop. 2, got leverage. Got him to associate he would be wasting 14 years of his life if he didn't give 1,000%, no matter what happened. And that if he really did it, he could have the pleasure of really winning, and maybe even the gold. Got him to break up all the old patterns by doing a bunch of erasures, got him to link pleasure to succeeding, and got him to rehearse and do a series of swish patterns until his brain literally felt that when that gun went off, he would be pulled towards success. Literally where he would be triggered. In fact, we analyzed the time when he beat DiCarlo to find out exactly what he did on that day to be in that peak state. The result? He won not just an Olympic medal, he won the gold medal in the 1500 freestyle and beat everyone, including his strongest competition, by over 6 seconds. There is tremendous power in learning to run your own brain. So here's your assignment. Pull out your success journal, and before you turn the tape over, just identify. Do you have a place in your life where you have a tendency, and by the way, that's all this self-sabotage stuff is. We don't want to make it into a thing. It's not a thing. It's just a tendency. It's just a pattern that once in a while you run. So is there a place in your life where you have a tendency to start to sabotage things when it gets too good, for example? Relationship gets to a certain level and your brain goes, uh-oh, if I get too connected, if I love this person too much, what if they leave me? Oh my gosh, then I'd have pain, so I better sabotage it first. You understand the kind of thing I'm talking about here? So identify if there is a tendency someplace. That's number 1. 2, don't feel bad about it. Instead, feel good. Get excited. Say, my brain is awesome. My brain here is doing a good job of what it believes it needs to do to help me to avoid pain and gain pleasure. So feel good about your brain. It means it's doing its job. 3, get some leverage, though, to make a change. Get your brain to associate and teach your brain by writing down, here's all the things I missed out on because of this tendency. And really get your brain to see that there's major pain in sabotaging. And make sure your brain also says, make a list of here's all the pleasure I get by making a change. So your brain has got both the stick and the carrot. It's got leverage to want to make the shift. 4, then what you need to do is now simply interrupt the pattern. And to interrupt the pattern, there are a zillion ways to do it again, but use the erasure technique, essentially that's what we've been using for the last 2 days. Real simple process. Think about the sabotage you've done and make it humorous. Run those kinds of scenarios over in your head and turn them into cartoons. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until when your brain thinks of it, it kind of laughs and sees that this is ridiculous, where it doesn't run the pattern the same way anymore. And finally, 5, Rehearse achieving the result you want without the self-sabotage. In other words, rehearse achieving the success you want and make sure you feel the pleasure of succeeding. And do it over and over again till your brain links, hey, this really works. This is really going to last. This is something that I really want in my life. And the self-sabotage pattern or tendency will disappear. So do this and then turn the tape over and we'll talk about how to create unstoppable self-confidence.
This is the end of Side A.